I guess on one hand, you look at it and go, well, we're maybe 50 years into this experiment, since 1971, and look how bad and how fast things have gotten in 50 years. But on the other hand, it's like, man, how long can they keep this game going for?
Yeah, and this is kind of the motivation of my book, which is, this thing's been around for 50 years, and just because it doesn't make sense doesn't mean it can't work. And it's been working, and it's been written off for 50 years. People have been predicting a collapse of the dollar for 50 years and longer, and yet it trudges along, and people continue to use it. So, in my book, I try and explain why that is, and I think the reason is ultimately that what fiat offers is the ability to send money quickly across space, across nations, across national borders. So gold is better money because it holds on to its value into the future better, because nobody can print gold. And it's always going to have a low inflation rate because of reasons I discuss in detail in the Bitcoin standard. So gold has best salability across time. It's the best way of saving value into the future, or at least traditionally it was. But fiat has much better salability across space. Sending gold across space involves a significant loss in the value of it. It's gonna lose about 0.5% or 1% of its value when you ship it halfway around the world. When you think about the cost of shipping plus insurance, so that's really ultimately why I think fiat succeeds, and continues to operate, because it has terrible salability across time. You can't really hold on to it across time. It continues to lose its value. But we live in a world where everybody is interconnected with the rest of the planet, and you need to trade with the rest of the planet. And even if you don't trade personally with people on the rest of the planet, everybody you buy your stuff from does trade with people from the rest of the
Right.
planet. There's a lot of people that think, trading with other countries is a bad thing because it makes us dependent on them. It doesn't. Trading with other countries makes you less dependent on any one country. The more countries you trade with, the less dependent you are on other countries, and the less dependent you are on your own natural environment not screwing you over. So you're able to live a much better, more comfortable life because you can always trade with others. And so it provides you with a lot of insurance. But of course, the main benefit is that it's the division of labor, and the larger the circles with which we trade, the more each producer can specialize, and the more people they can sell to. So you specialize in making something smaller and smaller. We have some really highly paid people who are specialized in building one tiny little part of your car or your laptop, and they spend their entire life working on making the car windshield work well. There are people in car factories that are just doing this every day. They're specialized in something very tiny, and the only way that they can specialize in this and get so good at it and make such good cars is because they're able to sell their cars all over the world. And so this is what drives the specialization. And without it, we wouldn't be able to have any of the nice things that we have today. We can't have computers if we tried to live as and maybe the US might be able to pull off computers on its own. It's got 340 million people. But I think the vast majority of the world would not be able to produce anything advanced within its own borders. And that's just the way that a market economy works, because at every step in the way of the production of your computer or your car, the only way that it gets produced is that someone is making the decision at every step along the way. And not just someone, several people, like the guy who's making the tires and the guy who's designing the windshield. They're making economic decisions along the way to always look for the best supplier at the best price. So we're highly intertwined in this global system of trade, and we need it, and we need it very badly. And therefore, we have to trade with the rest of the world, and so we need a money that can cross borders. And governments simply prevent you from using any other money other than theirs. They won't license banks that use currencies other than theirs, and that just means that you have to deal with their currencies, and that just means that people continue to take it. But
Yep.
governments continue to inflate the money supply, and people have no choice but to continue to use it. But I think Bitcoin obviously changes this, because you can trade Bitcoin internationally without the permission of your government.